Hey guys, how's it going? Master Cal here, and today I'm going to be doing the 17th video for my 2021 NFL offseason recap series, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders will hope that this year that they don't fall short in the final third of the season, as both 2019 and 2020 they got off to pretty solid starts in both those years, but wound up falling off towards the end of the season. And once again, they were close but couldn't quite make it with key losses late against the Miami Dolphins and LA Chargers. And it was pretty much almost the same season as last year. And did they make enough of a difference to avoid that? For their coaching changes, they made a change at defensive coordinator. Paul Guenther was fired with like 2 games left in the regular season. And Rod Marinelli, former Cowboys defensive coordinator, was the interim replacement, and the Raiders' permanent replacement is going to be Gus Bradley, who was recently the Chargers' defensive coordinator until he was fired by the Chargers as they put in a new coaching staff, and also former Jaguars head coach is now the defensive coordinator of the Raiders. We'll see how that goes. The Chargers in recent years have been known for blowing late fourth quarter leads, so that is notable, and obviously you don't want your defenses to be doing that. So we'll see if Bradley can avoid that in Las Vegas, or if the same issues arise yet again, as the Raiders defense has had a lot of issues for years now. On to the free agent the Raiders re-signed. Guard Denzel Good, who's been in and out of the starting lineup the past couple of years, signed a 2-year contract. It's worth $8.36 million up to $9.26 million, $3.19 million guaranteed. And he's done pretty solid when he's been asked to start because of injuries or whatever. Linebacker Nicholas Morrow signed a 1-year deal worth a fully guaranteed $4.5 million. And Morrow has done a pretty good job working his way up as being an undrafted free agent, and he outdid trade acquisition Raekwon McMillan for the number 3 linebacker role this offseason, and he's been kind of versatile for them and what he can do. So the Raiders brought him back. Defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins, who's been with them since 2018, signed a 1-year deal worth a fully guaranteed $3.5 million, and he's a pretty good run defender. Long snapper Trent Sieg was brought back as a restricted free agent on a 3-year contract worth $3.4225 million with $925,000 guaranteed. Kicker Daniel Carlson was brought back on the second-round level tender as a restricted free agent, so 1 year, $3.384 million. Wide receiver Zay Jones, who a former second-round pick of the Bills, who the Raiders had acquired during the 2019 season from Buffalo, signed a 1-year deal worth a fully guaranteed $2.5 million. And he's actually carved out a niche for himself in Vegas the past couple of years, after doing basically nothing in his 2+ years in Buffalo. Tight end Derek Carrier was re-signed to a 1-year deal worth $1.2125 million with $275,000 guaranteed, and he's a key special teamer. Cornerback Nevin Lawson was brought back yet again, a 1-year deal worth $1.125 million with $250,000 guaranteed. This will be his 3rd year at Las Vegas, and same story, he's suspended again. He's going to miss the first 2 games of the season due to a suspension. Third-string quarterback Nathan Peterman re-signed a 1-year deal worth $1.025 million with $1 million guaranteed. After flaming out in Buffalo in epic fashion, he's been in Vegas, and he's a guy that Jon Gruden, as a quarterbacks guy, does like, but he is stuck behind Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. And edge rusher Kendall Vickers was brought back as an exclusive rights free agent for 1 year and $780,000, and safety Dallin Levitt was brought back as an exclusive rights free agent for 1 year and $850K. For their free agent signings, they added former Ravens, Vikings, and Jaguars edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue on a 2-year contract worth $26 million. $21 million of it is fully guaranteed, and the remaining $5 million of that vests into a full guarantee if he's on the roster if he's on the roster a few days after the new league year. So it's almost completely guaranteed there. Ngakoue is one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. He's not very good against the run, so he's not a viable every down kind of defensive lineman. But as far as getting to the quarterback, he has been very disruptive for basically his entire career thus far. So a nice pickup by them. They added running back Kenyon Drake, former Cardinal and Dolphin, on a 2-year deal worth $11 million. Like Ngakoue's deal, it's structured so that the bulk of it is fully guaranteed. In Drake's case, it's $8.5 million guaranteed, and then the remaining $2.5 million becomes guaranteed if he's on the roster a few days after the new league year. Again, almost a fully guaranteed 2-year contract. Drake played last year under the transition tag for the Cardinals after he was a surprise kind of mini break after he had a surprise kind of mini breakout after being traded from Miami to Arizona during the 2019 season. He wasn't really able to follow up on that in Arizona, but he wasn't bad either, and he'll be a key backup for starter Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas. Yet another former Bill, as they signed receiver John Brown to a 1-year deal worth $3.75 million. $3.24 million of it is guaranteed. He had been released by Buffalo this offseason for cap savings and also to give other guys more opportunities. Brown dealt with injuries a lot early in his career with the Cardinals, but he's been pretty healthy for the most part the last 3 years with Baltimore and Buffalo. And he brings a speed element to the table, which Jon Gruden and GM Mike Mayock like. They signed former number 3 overall pick, former 49ers defensive tackle Solomon Thomas. It's a 1-year deal worth $3.25 million up to $5 million, with $2.74 million of it guaranteed. Thomas has not lived up to the expectations of being the number 3 overall pick and has been was overshadowed by other members on that 49ers defensive line, especially their other first-round picks. And after they traded DeForest Buckner, that was kind of the year for Thomas to potentially break out. But unfortunately, it ended with a torn ACL in week 2 of the regular season. So it's kind of a buy low, change of scenery candidate there. They signed another former Bill defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson. It's a 1-year deal, also $3.25 million. $2 million of it is guaranteed. He had also been released by Buffalo for cap savings. So he spends just 1 year in Buffalo after playing out his rookie deal in Seattle. He did show some pass rush ability from the interior while with Seattle, but didn't do a whole lot with Buffalo last year, and they had other options. They brought in cornerback Casey Hayward, former Charger and Packer, on a 1-year deal worth a fully guaranteed $2.5 million after he was released by Los Angeles this offseason. So he reunites with Gus Bradley. And Hayward's been one of the more underrated cornerback ones, like, for quite some time now, but his game did start to show some signs of decline last year, and he was dinged up a bit, so it is a bit of a risk there that the Raiders are taking. They signed former Texans center Nick Martin to a 1-year deal worth $1.25 million with $250,000 guaranteed after he was released by Houston. They brought in defensive tackle Gerald McCoy, obviously longtime Buccaneer. He spent 2019 with the Panthers, and then he was with the Cowboys in 2020, but suffered an injury and was released with an injury waiver. He signed a 1-year deal worth $1.25 million up to $2 million with $150K guaranteed. So it's been a little while since he played, and he's not the ultra disruptive force he once was, former number 2 overall pick, but he's still a pretty solid player. They signed cornerback Blighty Ray Wilson to a 1-year deal worth $1.2125 million with no guarantees. Add some depth. He's spent some time with the Falcons recently. They signed former Ravens, Saints, and Browns slot receiver Willie Snead to a 1-year deal worth $1.1275 million, $987,500 guaranteed. So he'll add some competition there in the Raiders receiver room. They brought back a former first-round pick of theirs, safety Carl Joseph, their first-round pick in 2016. He signed a one-year deal worth $1.1275 million with $987,500 guaranteed. Joseph spent last year with the Cleveland Browns as a kind of a starter, I think, with them, and now he's back with the Raiders for this year, competing for a starting job again. Guard Patrick Omameh signed a one-year deal worth $1.075 million with no guarantees. Defensive tackle Matt Dickerson signed a one-year deal worth $1 million with $80,000 guaranteed. He had been non-tendered by the Tennessee Titans as a restricted free agent. They brought in defensive tackle Darius Philon on a one-year deal worth $990,000 with no guarantees. Philon's been out of the league for almost 2 full years, as he was signed by the Arizona Cardinals in 2019, but he was released following an off-field incident. I don't remember if it was assault or domestic violence or whatnot, but I guess that legal situation has been resolved, and he's now competing for a role on the Raiders defense. They signed former Panthers and Eagles corner Rasul Douglas to a one-year deal worth $990K, no guarantees. I imagine he'll be in the mix to start in the nickelback role. They added former Jets first-round pick Darren Lee on a one-year deal worth $990,000, no guarantees. Lee's kind of bounced around the league ever since he was traded away from the Jets to the Chiefs in 2019. He's been on, I think, the Bills practice squad as well. Cornerback Devontae Bosby signed a one-year deal worth $990K, no guarantees. Tight end Alex Ellis, 1 year, $920,000. Guard Parker Ehinger, who's been on and off rosters for a while. Cowboys, Chiefs, Ravens, 1 year, $920,000. Jeremiah Putassi, who's been out of the league for some time, a former third-round pick of the Titans. They signed him to a one-year deal worth $850K. Guard Lester Cotton Sr., 1 year, $780K. He was one of their final cuts last year, didn't get signed by another team, and now he's back with the team. Safety Roderick Teamer, former Charger and Colts, 1 year, $780K. Running back Bo Scarborough, former Seahawk and Lion, 1 year, $780K. Wide receiver Caleb Scott, 1 year, $660K. Punter Corliss Waitman, 1 year, $660K. And running back BJ Emmons, 1 year, and $660K. The Raiders cuts, wide receiver Tyrell Williams, he missed all of last year with a labrum injury, was released. And he signed a one-year deal with the Detroit Lions to reunite with Anthony Lynn, his former head coach when he was with the Chargers. Nickelback LaMarcus Joyner was released, a guy who was also signed in 2019, Mike Mayock's first year. And he signed a one-year deal with the New York Jets. The Raiders, for whatever reason, converted Joyner from safety to nickelback, I think because of necessity and injuries, and Joyner just wasn't very good as a nickel corner. And the Jets are going to be converting him back to safety, which was the position he played when he was with the Rams. They cut safety Jeff Heath, who they added in free agency last year on a 2-year deal. He remains unsigned. A couple of draft picks from 2018, third-round edge rusher Arden Key and fifth-round defensive tackle Maurice Hurst were both waived. Both of them signed the identical contracts with the San Francisco 49ers just a couple days later. And then they waived Ukemi Iligwe, who opted out of last year. Jeremiah Valawaga also opted out of last year. He has since signed with the Jets, adding some depth there because they have some defensive linemen injured. And also they waived defensive back DJ Killings. For their free agent losses, Nelson Aguilar, who had a breakout season with the Raiders, the former first-round pick of the Eagles, had a really poor 2019 season that caused him to settle for a veteran minimums contract with the Raiders, and he wound up becoming one of the more underrated deep threats in the league last season, finishing with just under 1,000 yards receiving. The Raiders wanted to bring Aguilar back, but the Patriots outbid them, it appears. The Patriots got him for $11 million a year. Running back Devontae Booker signed a 2-year deal with the New York Giants. Defensive tackle Malik Collins signed a 1-year deal with the Houston Texans. Edge rusher Tack McKinley, former first-round pick of the Falcons, who the Raiders added late in the season, signed with the Cleveland Browns. Safety Eric Harris, who's been kind of a starter for the past couple of years, signed with the Atlanta Falcons. Linebacker Raekwon McMillan signed with the New England Patriots. Unfortunately, he has suffered a torn ACL, so he will miss all of this season. Cornerback Darren Waller signed with the Arizona Cardinals. So that's the second straight offseason that the Raiders let Waller walk. Last year, he signed with the Dallas Cowboys. Then he was released by the Cowboys during the season, signed to the Bills practice squad, and then the Raiders then poached him off of Buffalo's practice squad. And now he's with Arizona. Edge rusher Chris Smith signed a one-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. Veteran tight end Jason Witten retired for the second time. He spent last year with the Raiders after being a career Cowboy, but he's decided to retire once again after he retired, I believe it was in 2018. Tackle Sam Young, who got some starts in at right tackle for them last year because of injuries, elected to retire, as did running back Theo Riddick. They actually did re-sign both Riddick and Young, but both of them have elected to retire during training camp. Their unsigned free agents are edge rusher Vic Beasley, another former first-round pick of the Falcons, tight end Nick O'Leary, and linebacker Kyle Wilbur. For trades, the Raiders completely tore down the right half of their offensive line. So they sent right tackle Trent Brown, another one of their free agent acquisitions in 2019, along with a 7th-round pick in 2022, away to the Patriots, the team that they signed him away from, for a 5th-round pick in 2022. Brown has missed time due to injuries during his time with the Raiders, and he also missed some time because of complications from COVID-19. I believe he was on the COVID-19 list multiple times, and I think he had to get hospitalized once as well. So he missed some time, and there were some concerns about his weight, which have kind of been a concern throughout his career with the 49ers and the Patriots and now the Raiders. And now he'll go back to Bill Belichick, and we'll see if he can get that straightened out. Next, they traded away center Rodney Hudson, still one of the best in the game, and a 7th-round pick to the Cardinals for a 3rd-round pick. It was initially reported that the Raiders are going to be releasing him, but oftentimes a team will leak that a player is going to be released to try and see if they can get something in a trade, and the Cardinals swooped in and decided to go for it. Then all told, that's actually not a bad return. The Raiders and Hudson, I think, did leave on kind of poor terms, as I believe Hudson either wanted a new contract or a raise, and the Raiders weren't really willing to do that, and so that's why the Raiders were willing to move on. And they also traded away right guard Gabe Jackson away to the Seattle Seahawks for a 5th-round pick. Jackson's also been dinged up by injuries as well, so it's a completely new right side of the offensive line for the Raiders. All right, now on to their draft picks. One of their new guys, they took Alabama tackle Alex Leatherwood with the 17th overall pick. With the 11th pick in the 2nd round, they traded up to get TCU safety Trayvon Merrick, a first-round talent. With the extra 3rd they got from Arizona in the Hudson trade, they took Buffalo edge rusher Malcolm Kuntz, 15th pick in the 3rd round. The pick right after that, 16th overall, they took Virginia Tech linebacker Divine Diablo. They're going to be converting him to safety, however. With the 38th pick in the 4th round, they took safety Tyree Gillespie. With the 23rd pick in the 5th round, they took cornerback Nate Hobbs. And with the 2nd pick in the 7th round, they took center Jimmy Morrissey. The Raiders have signed 2 players to contract extensions. Center Andre James, who's been the backup the past few years behind Hudson, and a guy that the team likes, and the extension confirms that they view him as the starter going forward. He signed a 2-year extension through the 2023 season. It's worth $8.65 million, and $4 million of it is guaranteed. So, pretty team friendly, and it buys out 1 year of free agency, because 2022 would have been his restricted free agency year. And they signed left tackle Colton Miller, their 1st-round pick in 2018, to a 3-year extension through 2025, because they also folded the 5th-year option into the deal. So the value from 2023 to 25 is worth $54.015 million. $25 million of it is fully guaranteed, and it has another $17.5 million of injury guarantee. So a pretty nice deal for another former UCLA Bruin, as both James and Miller were both from UCLA. Miller has gotten better every year that he's been in the league. No notable injuries for the Raiders at this point so far. So my thoughts on the Raiders offseason. It was certainly interesting to say the least. The Raiders got a lot of criticism for blowing up the offensive line, which was a position of strength on their roster. Especially since they were going to be releasing both Hudson and Jackson before they wound up agreeing to trades for both those guys. But looking back on it, I actually think it does make sense, because those guys are all older, and they've had in Brown and Jackson's case, they've been dinged up due to injuries. Hudson's been pretty reliable, but he's also the oldest of the group. Jackson has barely played, is rarely reliable for 16 games, and Brown, Brown we talked about before. He's had weight issues, and he's also been dinged up due to injuries. So, and then as far as the guys that they got in as replacements, obviously Leatherwood was a nice pickup. And then bringing back Good. They also, and then last year's 4th round pick John Simpson, they want him to win a starting role as well. So all in all, I don't really have a problem with that. And it'll really depend on if the young guys can kind of pick up the slack early on. Now, what I did not really like is the Raiders still don't have a proven number 1 wide receiver. That's been an issue for them ever since they released Michael Crabtree after the 2017 season, is they have yet to find a wide receiver 1. And this year was no different. And that was the first position I mentioned on positions of need, wide receiver. While they do have a solid rotation there, they brought back Jones, they added Snead and Brown. The issue is they just don't have a 1, and Henry Ruggs is not a receiver 1, and I don't think he ever really was one at Alabama. He was playing with Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith on that roster. He's got speed, but what else does he have? Now, Bryan Edwards supposedly has had a really good camp, which is good news, but and you can make the argument the Raiders lost their most productive receiver in Aguilar. So I'd say they did not address that very well. I listed defensive tackle, and yes, that was certainly addressed. They brought in Thomas, they brought in McCoy, they brought back Hankins, took a flyer on Phylon, who's pretty good when available. So yeah, they did a good job on that. I mentioned cornerback, especially given Damon Arnett's struggles last year, and that was addressed with Casey Hayward, who can certainly hold down the fort. And if Hayward's decline continues, they can put Arnett back in the lineup. For the secondary needs, I listed the offensive line, because of the shakeup there, that was addressed. I listed safety because I expected them to cut Jeff Heath, and they did a really good job at addressing that by bringing back Joseph and also adding Merrig and also some other guys in the draft. And then linebacker, yes, that was addressed by re-signing their third linebacker, Morrow. So then I'm going to give the Raiders a C+ for their offseason. I think, I think their offensive line shakeup was fine, and I do think they added some reinforcements to the defense, but is Gus Bradley the man for the job, and can they get development out of some of their recent draft picks, like Cleveland Ferrell and Damon Arnett? If they can't, the Raiders' defense may be a problem yet again. And as mentioned before, I still don't like that the Raiders don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. So the projected starters for the Raiders, it'll be Derek Carr at quarterback, Josh Jacobs at running back, Miller at left tackle. The guard spots, so the Raiders released Incognito and then re-signed him to a cheaper price. I have heard that the Raiders want Simpson to win a starting job, so I think the 2 guard spots are going to go between Incognito, Good, and Simpson. James will start at center with Nick Martin being the backup there, and Leatherwood will start right away at right tackle. At wide receiver, well, like, given the guys they have, it's really tough to make an assessment on who I think will be starting. My guess would probably be Ruggs. Yeah, yeah. My guess would be Ruggs, Brown, and then Edwards in the slot. But but I would expect Jones, Snead, and also Hunter Renfrow to all get snaps. Darren Waller at tight end. Having Waller does to a certain extent lessen the need for a wide receiver one, just because he's that good at tight end. But having a guy on the outside that can challenge teams' top corners obviously doesn't hurt there. For the defensive line, Ngakoue, even though he's not very good against the run, he'll definitely be starting. For their defensive tackle, that's kind of tough to say. I'm going to go with Thomas and Hankins, though, as their two starters there. And then the other edge rusher should be Max Crosby, since he's also a really good pure pass rusher. At linebacker, it'll be Nick Kwiatkowski, Corey Littleton, and Morrow, so same as last year. Cornerback, Casey Hayward and Trayvon Mullen will be on the outside. I guess we'll see what they do there. Are they going to have Hayward be the 1 and Mullen be the 2? Are they going to have Mullen the 1 and Hayward the 2? Are they going to have them just play sides, like Hayward on the left side, Mullen on the right side? And then their nickelback, I think their nickelback will go between either Nevin Lawson, Rasul Douglas, or Isaiah Johnson, with the caveat that Lawson is suspended the first 2 games. And then at safety, Jonathan Abram will definitely be starting, and then the other safety spot will go between Joseph and Merrick. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next off-season recap video.